Drinking in the morning sun, blinking in the morning sun, shaking off the heavy one.
Welcome back to the channel. Hope everyone's doing well. So as you can see, I'm trying the reading glasses again. Seems like every video I say something about the fact that I can't read anything, so I thought I would try to break out the reading glasses again, but they really don't help. I need to get real glasses. So we'll see. Maybe someday I'll break down and do that. But early this past week, I was thinking about my top lists of previous years. I don't know why. And those who have been following me for a long time know that I did a top 50 of 2015, 2016, 2017, and I'm sure I'll do another one, you know, for years coming. But I always thought, what would happen to those lists that I created that I just posted on Facebook back for 2013 and 2014? Thought they were long gone. I didn't save them. And I had a wild hair at my butt and said, why don't I search? You know, maybe there's a way to search on Facebook, because I knew I posted them. But, you know, that was obviously 4 or 5 years ago. Nearly 5 years ago in the case of 2013. But anyway, come to find out, if you do a Facebook search, you can see old posts. And, you know, I never bothered to even pay attention to that. But I was able to find my top 50 list for those 2 years. Long before I was making videos, I was posting those 2 years at least of top 50 albums of the year. And I do frequently get asked, you know, what was your favorite album of 2014 or 2013? So I thought, I'm not going to do top 50s because that, you know, would be kind of a long drawn out thing. But I'm going to show you my top 10 albums from those 2 years today. And I thought that might be an interesting video. If you want to see the lists for the rest of those years, I could put the rest of the albums in comments. So just let me know if you want to see that. I have top 50 records that I had purchased for 2013 and 14. So let's start with 2014. Very good year for music. I'm going through these lists and reminiscing about, you know, what great music was out for both of those years. And I'm just looking down the list here of albums like you know, Merchandise and Imogen Heap and, you know, Simeon Ghost and Lamb, and Peter Murphy had a great album that year called Lion. Paolo Nutini and Caustic Love, you know, it didn't make my top 10 at that time. And what I'm going to promise you that I'm going to be very authentic. I didn't change it, even though some of these albums that were further down the list I actually probably like more and sometimes less than what I actually posted. But I'm going to show you what I actually posted at the time of my top 10 albums of that year. No faking it. You know, this is what I said at the time. Whether I believe it now or not, I'm sure, you know, that's up for debate. And it'll change again, you know, in 3 years or 2 years or who knows. You know, but this is what I said at the time. And I'm already seeing 1 or 2 albums in this list that I'm thinking, you know, I probably would replace that now. So anyway, starting with 2014, in 10th place was the album from Beck called Morning Phase. This was the album of the year, the Grammy album of the year for 2014. And Beck's probably one of his most well-known albums now. Certainly one of his most critically acclaimed albums. And, you know, you might want to call this one Sea Change Part 2, because, you know, it's one of those 2 albums that he has in his discography that are really mellow, really songwriters type albums, and this one's really good. So I do believe this would be a top 10 album for me still today. Morning Phase by Beck, very good album. In number 9 is an album that I frequently talk about still, and recently mentioned in my top albums from 2017, that her new album was not as good as this album. This is the self-titled album from St. Vincent. This is an excellent album, really strong, maybe her best in my opinion. This came in at the time 9th place, and, you know, I haven't really thought through, you know, which would come in what place today, but at the time this was my 9th a best album of 2014. And if you're new to St. Vincent, this would be a great place to start. It's really, really good. In 8th place is a favorite. His new album landed, what place did that land this past year? Number 3. And the album prior to the new album that was in 2017 landed at number 8. So you can see this artist is on a roll for me. This is the self-titled album from Ryan Adams. And I'm really, really happy to be able to tell you that I purchased tickets to go see Ryan Adams in Red Rocks in Colorado in June. I'm going to fly out, go with my sister, and for the first time ever, I get a chance to see Ryan Adams perform live. And what a place to see him live in Red Rocks. So I'm super, super excited. You know, that was a Valentine's Day spur of the moment kind of gift for my sister. And me, really. Let's face it, I did it for me as much as I did it for her. But I'm very excited, and this is a fantastic album. So that came in at number 8. At number 7 is an album from an artist that I frequently talk about as well. And you guys know I'm a huge fan of this artist, and all 3 of their albums have been impressive. And their debut album would be one of my top albums of the past 10 years. This album is not quite to that level, but it's still my 7th album of the year from 2014, and that is Young the Giant, Mind Over Matter. I actually listened to this one a lot. This is maybe in the top 10 that I'm showing you today, the album that I still play the most. There's just something about their sound that really, really hits it for me, and I love everything that they've done. Maybe I would rank their albums just in the order that they've come out, you know, 1, 2, and 3. This is their 2nd best album. Their 1st album is their best album, and their more recent album is their 3rd best, but they're all very good. And if you like my taste in music and you're not familiar with Young the Giant, I'd really recommend that you check them out. And number 6 is an album that I know for a fact that I would probably replace now. I've really gone off this album and a little bit off this artist in general since I was very high on them. What are we talking about now? 4 years ago. And that is The Drums. This was, I think, their 3rd album, Encyclopedia, and they were still a duo at that time with Johnny Pierce and Jacob. And I really liked this album when it first came out. You can see I got a signed copy, but this one does not resonate with me as much as it used to. And I actually prefer the newer album when it's just Johnny. It's really a solo album. He's just keeping the name The Drums. But I like the newer album more, which I didn't think I would, than this. This one, it just doesn't have that catchy, fun feel like The Drums are so well known for. But anyway, it's still a good album, and it would still be probably a top 20 album for me. But nevertheless, that one would probably fall out the top 10 if I was redoing my list. This album is his best, hands down, and I really, really like this artist. I just talked about this artist in my top 50 for 2017. His most recent album landed at number 8 for 2017, and this lands at number 5 for 2014. So you know I'm very, very high on Perfume Genius. This is Too Bright, and I really love it. I mean, it's a fantastic listen, and he's creative and innovative and daring, and he's really one of a kind. So you know, again, if you like my taste in music and you want to challenge yourself just a little bit, this would be a good place to do that with Perfume Genius, because while he may not be for everyone, he's certainly for me, and I appreciate his creativity and his uniqueness. So I would check this album out if you're interested at all in what I like. This is a good one. Number, where are we at? 4 goes to Damien Rice. This was a big comeback album for him. He's very slow making records. He's only got 3 studio albums, and I've liked him for what seems like 15 years now. I'm sure maybe it's not quite that long, maybe it is, but he only puts out an album every 5 years or so, and who knows when we may get another one. But this is called My Favorite Faded Fantasy, and it's a fantastic listen. I actually have this on CD as well, and I pop it in the car frequently. Beautiful record, gatefold. This has got an embossed cover, and it was just so well done. Irregardless of that, the music is stunning. if you like singer-songwriter, folky type music, Damien Rice would be right in your sweet spot. So that landed at number 4, and I stand by that one for sure. That's a great record. Top 3, I remember just fighting and fighting and fighting with myself. You know, how am I going to rank these top 3? Because I really like them all equally. But this is where I landed with it. Number 3 went to Coldplay and Ghost Stories. This was, in my opinion, their last excellent album. Not saying they're not capable of another excellent album, but they had a kind of a dodgy one in between this one and a dodgy one after this one, and this was a return to form for me. This is the Coldplay I love. This is much more Rush of Blood to the Head. This is much more Parachutes. This is Chris Martin being very, you know, this is a Chris Martin record. Really, I mean, this really could be a solo record because this is just after a breakup, a divorce. This is a very emotional album. This is a personal album, and it is fantastic. I mean, I can hear this anytime, any day. In fact, I just heard it last night on the Olympics. One of the skaters skated to, I don't know if it was Oceans or O, was one of those two songs. And I just thought, it gave me chills. It really did give me chills. I mean, he was an excellent skater as well, but just hearing him, Coldplay, with the music and part of his art of the ice skating at the Olympics was really special. So great album from Coldplay. That's one of their 3, well, maybe 4, really I would consider classic Coldplay albums. I might throw Viva La Vida in there as well. Okay, number 2 went to perennial favorite. You know, they always land in the top, you know, somewhere. Where did their new album land? Let's take a quick look. Number 9. So I guess I technically like this one slightly more. This landed at number 2, and I do think I slightly like this album more. This went to Elbow, The Takeoff and Landing of Everything. A fantastic record. And I really am sad in a way because every album that they put out has been pressed on 2 LPs, 45 RPM. And their new album was just really kind of so cheaply done as far as vinyl goes. Just on a single disc and not the care and attention to detail that these other albums were. And that may be part of the reason why I like this one more. But it's more than anything the songs. And I don't know why, but this one just resonates so much more for me. It's just got so much, I mean, this is just classic Elbow for me, and it's an album that I just have listened to over and over and over, and I never get tired of it. It's just fantastic. Not my number 1 album of the year though, but it was a real tough battle between Coldplay, Elbow, and then finally my number 1 album of the year for 2014, and I do think I stand by this. This was a breakthrough. This was unexpected. This was not an artist that I had loved being in the past, but it was just one of those albums that I think over time will stand the test of time and will hold up as their swan song. This will probably be the album they're most well known for forever, is The War on Drugs, Lost in a Dream. It is so good, and it's so perfect, really. I mean, there just isn't a bad moment on this record. And I'm so, I don't know how to describe it, but it just swept away when I hear this. I mean, it just takes me to a different place. So without dwelling on it too much, if you haven't heard if you haven't heard of the War on Drugs, and in particular this album, they had a new album this past year too, in 2017, that landed at number 21 for me. So it didn't obviously have the punch and impact of this one, but this is the where to go. This is the album for me for The War on Drugs. It is just absolutely brilliant. Okay, so 14 minutes in, and we've got a whole nother year to go. So, oh well, if it's long, it's long. You can always fast forward. Okay, so going back even further to 2013. So we're talking almost 5 years ago now. Again, if you want to see the whole 50, this was another great year of music. We had stuff from Sigur Rós, 9 Inch Nails, Depeche Mode had a great album, The National had a great album, Jim James and Civil Wars and Washed Out and Travis, and the Lone Bellow self-titled album came out. My Bloody Valentine made a massive return, unexpected, it came out of the blue. London Grammar's debut album came out. Great year in music, and I'm just scratching the surface. So those are albums that did not make my top 10 that I still play and love and talk about and recommend. But here is, at the time, what made my top 10. And I'm starting with number 10 that would definitely not make my top 10 anymore. I was caught up in the moment, I think, with Lorde, Pure Heroin, or Heroine. Yeah, this just doesn't cut it for me anymore. It's still a good album, don't get me wrong, but I'm kind of over the whole pop phase, and I'm not over her, but I don't think she's a great live performer, and not every song on here I even care for, so this would not be a top 10 album. I'd much rather replace this like with James Blake, Overgrown, or London Grammar for sure, and probably others on further down the list. So anyway, I'm being honest, and that at the time was my number 10 album of the year. Number 9, I absolutely stand by. It was a one album band, and they've gone off to split and form Mating Ritual, and now these guys are kind of back, but they're going to keep the name Mating Ritual. They have decided that, and before it was Mating Ritual, which did make my top 50 in 2017. That came in, I can't find it quickly, so I'll just let it go, but very good album. It was Pacific Air, and it never pressed on vinyl, only have the CD. But this is a great album, very Californian sound, very great harmonies, great songwriting, very catchy, very jangly, really fun, excellent album. So I feel confident that this would stay in my top 10. As I said, they're two brothers. One of the brothers went off to college. He's now finished college. He's back. They're going to get back together and carry on as Mating Ritual, but this is where they started, with Pacific Air. And if you get a chance to download this or hear it on Spotify, I think the CD's out of print and it'll probably never be printed again. But fantastic record, and yeah, go hear it at least. It's really fun, and Mating Ritual is the new incarnation of Pacific Air, and I highly recommend them. Number 8 is an artist I really love, and I'm really worried that maybe he got dropped from Sub Pop because I haven't heard anything about new music from him in quite some time. I know he had an album after this, which I really loved too, called Carnation. And this album is called Me Moan, from Don Gibson. Absolutely love it. And those who have known me for a long time, at least 5 years, know how much I played this when it came out. I was posting it, talking about it, bragging about it as often as I could, trying to encourage people to check out Don Gibson. And it is absolutely unique and stunning album. Got a bit of a country feel to it, but it's done in kind of a gothic way, so gothic country, if you will. And it's so hard to describe, but you just have to hear it, but it's brilliant. And if anybody from Sub Pop, or if you know anybody at Sub Pop, don't give up on Don Gibson. The guy is brilliant, and if you dropped him after 2 albums, you made a major mistake, because this guy's got a very bright future. So shame on you, Sub Pop, if you've dropped one of my very favorite artists on your label. Deserves better, but we'll see. Haven't heard anything in a long time, so hopefully Carnation, which was the follow-up to this, which was also great, would not be the last we'll have heard of Don Gibson. Okay, number 7 is a band that will make a lot of people happy. They're extremely popular, and I know why, but I think this is their last album, and it's been quite some time, so I don't know what they've been doing in the meantime. But Foals with Holy Fire, great album. Am I wrong? Have they had an album since then? In my head, I'm thinking this is their last album. I could be wrong, though. I don't know. I'm not planning here too much here, as you can see, but this is a really good album. And if this is their last album that they've done, where have they been, and when are we going to get a new one? This is a record store day copy on like a brown vinyl. But yeah, and it came with a 7-inch single as well. Fantastic record, and you know, from such a band that has a huge following and doing so well, maybe they're just taking their sweet time, or maybe I'm just having a brain fart, but that, I think, is their last album. Here we have the next album from an artist that's released an album since then, and he's getting ready to release another one this year, so No issues with John Grant. John Grant's Pale Green Ghost comes in at number 6 from 2013, his second solo album. And what a change from his first one. I mean, you talk about a radical change. You know, there's still elements of his folky, mid-lake kind of Texas sound, which apparently he's getting back to a little bit on the new album, from what I understand. But this one is more synth and 80s pop, and it's just got everything. He just threw everything in the kitchen sink on this one. And, well, it worked for him because this gave him a whole new fan base. And now he's quite popular in the UK, and he's doing so well. And I couldn't be more happy for John Grant, and I'm a lifelong fan, going all the way back to the first record from the Czars. You go back and watch my video of the Czars and John Grant, and you'll see my absolute love affair with this man. He's brilliant, and he's got an amazing voice, the best voice in music today, and hands down one of my favorite artists of all time. And this is a fantastic record, Pale Green Ghost by John Grant. Big comeback on number 5. You know, we talk about like My Bloody Valentine and New Order, keep making great music, and this was, I'm going to take this one out of the sleeve here, because it's kind of hard to see, but Mazzy Star came back with an unexpected album in 2013 called Seasons of Your Day. Hope Sandoval subsequently has released an album since then, a solo album. Well, I guess it's a newer band or something, but I don't know if this is the last we'll hear of Mazzy Star. I hope not. But I love them, I love her, and they have that early 90s kind of dream pop feel to them, and I just love it. So this is pressed on a very beautiful purple vinyl, and yeah, just really, really good. So yeah, I really hope we get another Mazzy Star album, but the Hope Sandoval album, and I think it's the Warm Inventions album that came out a couple of years ago, was very good too. So either way, you know, check them out. Number 4 was from a debut artist, first time on my list, first album. They have gone on and released a second album 2 or 3 years ago now, I think. This was 5 years ago. And oh, I played it and played it and played it and played it. I got a few people interested in them, and it was fun. And everybody everybody I turned on to it liked it. And my friend James Rockboy680, if you're listening, you like the Lone Bellow so much. You talk about the Lone Bellow so much. This is a band that's right in your sweet spot then, called Nightbeds, especially this album called Country Sleep. It's not as country as the Lone Bellow, but has a very similar feel, particularly this album. So good. Nightbeds, Country Sleep came in at number 4. Beautiful album. There's a song on here. Oh my gosh, what's it called? If you, well, Ramona's beautiful. A little bit more of an upbeat song. Maybe it's Borrowed Time. Oh, God, yeah, I can't think at the minute, but there's one that I've just, the video of it just blew me away. It's where I got into them. And the vocals on it were just so amazing. I'm rambling on too long here, but Nightbeds, Country Sleep, check them out. Number 3, oh, this album. Oh, this is an album that I just has a very special place for me. In fact, it probably, well, I don't know. I love the top 3 again, but this one could easily be number 1. Easily. This is a very special album, and it's from Goldfrapp, called Tales of Us. And I really encourage you not just to sit and listen to the music. There's a video for every song on this album, or at least almost every song on this album. Go check those out. They're all in black and white. They're all very kind of art school type videos. She's featured in a couple of them, Alison Goldfrapp, but they're beautiful. And tales, I mean, they all tell a story. And the interesting thing about it is every song on this album is the first name of a lady or girl. Joe, Annabel, Drew, Ula, Thea, Simone, Laurel, and they all tell a tale. You know, so it's Tales of Us. It's so good. I love this album with passion. It's amazing, and I love Alison Goldfrapp, and I hope they do another one like this. As much as I love the new album that came in last year, High, as well. Where did the new Goldfrapp come in? That came in at number 13. This is the album that rips my heart out. I mean, this is one that's so good. So watch those videos. especially for one Annabel. That one for me is the signature song on this record. So good. And if you like my taste at all, this album is very special to me. So I'll leave it at that. All right, number 2. Oops, I got the wrong page here. Number 2 comes from a band that has released an album that I loved from 2016 that came in at number 5. This album comes in at number 2, and they're just getting ready to release a new album for 2018, so they're busy. It's from the Boxer Rebellion called Promises. And again, if you've known me for a long time, you know how much I love this record. I would sit and I would play this all night long. Literally. Not joking. I would put this on and that was the only record I would play all night because nothing else was as good as this. And I mean, granted, 5 years ago I didn't have as much. I didn't have a massive... I did have a lot, but I had enough where it was still outstanding for me to put this record on and play nothing else, and I had no desire to ever take it off. It's that good. The Boxer Rebellion Promises is a brilliant album. Oh, if you're not familiar with the Boxer Rebellion, you've got to check out their catalog. I'm very, very lucky. I've got it sitting in front of me, but I can't reach it. This filled up their box set. There's only 500 copies on vinyl of their LP box set that includes 3 other albums, and they've got a newer album. They don't have a bad record, but this one's special. This one is very, very special. And for me, as glowing as I was talking about Goldfrapp, I felt it was only right as often as I played this, that it needed a high position. And the same thing can be said about my number 1, and I don't even have it on vinyl. It's never been put on vinyl, but I couldn't stop playing it, literally. I put it in my car every road trip, every opportunity, for literally 6 months. This was all I would hear in the car. It was just, it blew me away. It was my first introduction to this band, and it's still, for me, their best record, even though their new one, their most recent one, also very good. I don't remember what year it was, and I can't be bothered to look, but they're due for a new album soon, too. They've been dropping hints about it on their Instagram. Paper Kites Estates. You've heard me talk about Paper Kites. You've seen the poster I have. You've seen my little CD box set of their EPs. You know I've got, what, 4 copies of their new album on glow-in-the-dark and purple and black and one other color. I love them so much, and this is what started it all for me. So I think I still stand by this. And you know, again, you hear me glowing about these top 3 albums, and this was a really tough year for me because you take a look at my choices here and how much I love them and how much I'm telling you and begging you to go check them out. You can't go wrong. You just can't go wrong. So Paper Kites and States, it's very special, and literally, again, I couldn't turn it off. I didn't want to turn it off. I didn't want to hear anything else, and I only had it on CD, so most of the time it was in the car, where at Boxer Rebellion was like, I would start playing music on a Saturday night at 7 o'clock, and it would play till like midnight, non-stop. And I'm not joking. For 5 straight hours I'd play that record. And the same thing with Goldfrapp. Maybe a little bit more on the video side. I'd watch them and watch them and watch them. I couldn't stop watching. So anyway, well, part of the reason I wanted to do this is to show you my passion for those 3 albums, and the three albums and some of the others from 2014 with Coldplay and the War on Drugs and Elbow, and these 3. Those were 2 really great years in music, and I'm so pleased I found my lists, and I thought it'd be a fun opportunity for me to come and show you my top 10 albums from those 2 years. And again, I've got top 50. If you want to see them, let me know and I'll paste it in the comments. I think that's possible anyway, and it might take a bit of typing, so we'll you know, maybe I'll do it in small doses or something like that. We'll work it out. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, and I don't go back further. That's it. You won't see future of these, but at least now you've got top 10s you can refer back to from 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17, and I'm sure many years to come. So anyway, that's it from me this week. I will be back soon with something different, and I hope until then everybody's doing well and has a great weekend. Take care of yourselves, and bye for now.